Oh no, now the knee. Well, that was it. Manu, what's he done there? He's sold the dummy with a knee injury. It's a fake knee injury. That is set up a try for Momirovski.
It's the next tackle. He gets an offload. He goes back and gets the football. Probably feels a cramp coming on in the back of his calf. And then just takes off.
Oh, what a beauty. So, you pick which has been the better moment. The bloke kicking the ball back from the traffic at the southern end, or Manu, the cramp, the fibber, and takes off to set up a try.
Good evening, ladies and gents, and welcome back to another episode of the SuperCoach Tragics podcast. I'm your host, Dan. With me tonight, we have Glenn. How you going, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's good to have some footy on the weekend. I enjoyed that. It was great fun.
It was a great weekend, mate. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, awesome. And tonight we have two special guests. So firstly, the man who has pretty much every stat known to man handwritten down in a library, probably in his bedroom. Perso, mate, welcome back.
Good to be back, boys. Always good to get a chat on this pod. It's good. That's our classes this season. Enjoying it.
Yeah, I was looking forward to hearing what you got to say today. It's gonna be good. And last but definitely not least, from the Searching for Corey Parker podcast, Costa, mate, welcome back.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
No.
Now defunct, slightly defunct Searching for Corey Parker podcast.
Mate, honestly, I was gonna have a word to Kando about having like an awards night for all the podcasts, like a little Grammy Award kind of thing at the end of the season, and I reckon you guys will be sure thing for the best name. I reckon. I love that name. It's always been good.
It's
starting to get a bit old now, right? Like people don't even probably get the joke anymore.
Yeah, now we just see what kind of team he puts out every single week, and we laugh. So,
Corey Parker himself's probably done a disservice to the name of the podcast with his antics he goes on with.
That's it.
Defeat Superb. It was a gold name. That was great.
No, I loved it. Awesome. All right, guys, let's get started. So, trials on the weekend. It was bloody great to have some footy back. So, let's start with the first game. We'll go with you, Glenn. Warriors versus Tigers, mate. What'd you like? What'd you not like?
Warriors versus Tigers. Gee, I wrote down all the players that stood out to me, and none of them stood out in either of those games. So, what did I like from the Tigers? Bro, I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't like a lot from that game at all. Yeah, I didn't see much in either. I tell you who I did like. Was it Murchie on the right? And who was the other one on the right for the Warriors? The twos that played left, second row. Who was that? Was Dury, was it? No, I'm getting the wrong player from Parramatta. Whoever was on the right.
Honestly, I watched a bit of that game as well, and I honestly just turned away. I looked at the TV for a second, and I just saw this rookie, like second row, prop-looking guy, looked like Fanua Blake, built like a SpongeBob SquarePants, and all I could see is he run this great line and just ran through the gap, and I was like, wow. And I'd never heard of this guy's name before, so I apologise to guys. I don't know what his name was, but that run looked amazing.
There were some good people in the All-Stars game. I really just some players that stood out there. If you get to there, we'll talk about.
Costa?
I was just going to say, hard to know if the Warriors left was good or the Tigers right was bad. So I was looking.
Tigers right was horrendous.
I was looking pretty hard at Tommy Talau, and he looked pretty average in defence at least. They ran rampant. So it's kind of turned me off him a little bit, but I'll give him another shot. Like we'll have a look at him this week, and, see if he looks any better. Because I do like him as a player. Like I think he could be all right. But also Willie Army from the Warriors on that left-hand side.
Yeah.
He looked really good. And in the, we'll get to this week's trials later probably, but he got named again and he could actually get a start and he's very cheap. So,
and he's good.
Yes, never managed to make it work SuperCoach wise, but he looked all right. And then the really obvious one is Stefano. Stefano looked fucking amazing.
Yeah, love that. I did obviously Matamua had a pretty rough start to the game. I noticed that, but then he came along pretty nicely. I think he was probably playing trying to be too fancy with the ball at the start. And then eventually he just found his form and looked pretty good towards the end of it.
Yeah, Matamua I really like him as a player and a SuperCoach option as well. I was watching that, obviously as a Tigers fan, but from SuperCoach as well. He looked like he overplayed his hand a little bit, but you look at his work rate through the rest of it as well. He made 37 tackles through the game with no misses, and he's been training at lock all pre-season, and he had none of the guys around him that he's been training with. That was the Reggie side plus him and a couple of other guys. So I didn't take a lot out of that. He looks a good prospect. So there was signs there, but the thing I liked the most out of that game, I reckon, was Montoya, Buss, and Charlie Stones. Charlie, I don't rate Charlie Stones. He's not a fullback, but geez, that was a welcome back to NRL 2023.
Their backs played well for the Warriors all over. I thought Valier, I don't know how you say his name, the other Billy Valier.
Yeah,
he was good too. And Billy Army, he's available at second row. He put in a couple of 3 try assists, I think, from memory.
Well, Metcalf was outstanding in that game.
Genuine gun, mate.
It's I don't know. The Warriors have got to find a way to get him into that side somehow. Whether he's at fullback or whether he's in the halves, that's what they need, a player like him.
We're going to get into the cheapies later, but I reckon he's a big risk for CNK. Like, I reckon CNK,
massive.
If CNK has 2 or 3 bad games or average games, he could just get dropped for Metcalf pretty quickly.
Not even CNK, Costa. If there's outside backs leak like a sieve again, then you got Metcalf and get slotted in the fullback, and they put CNK in the centre to try and shore up defensively.
Yeah.
I reckon CNK is a massive. I don't really have much interest in him for SuperCoach for those couple of reasons, actually.
All right, let's move on to this game, guys. Knights and the Sharks. I'll go to you, Perso. What do you think of this game, mate?
I think it's showed by the side foodies of traps. That was probably the biggest take. Jaden Brayley looked outstanding for the little 20 minutes he was on there, and Hastings was good. I think the Knights need those two fit if they're going to be any kind of threat at all this season. But wasn't a lot to take out of that. The Sharks, best thing I liked about that Sharks side, there was so many the kids coming through there that their old men were playing when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So you had Tony, Kevin Oro's son and Brett Rodwell's son and all those sort of guys. It was good. They got a lot of depth, the Sharks.
Yeah, I like the look of Iro. I thought that Iro was played
he looks
amazingly. Yeah, and what was that fullback? Was it Atkinson? Was it the fullback?
He
did a good run as well. He was looking very, very safe with the ball and some good fancy little runs there.
That was an astute pickup, seeing how they let Metcalf go because they still had Dykes and Miller, and they were reluctant to get rid of Miller. And as soon as they get rid of Miller, Dykes does his ACL, so they had no backup fullback. Then they pluck Atkinson as well from OSO.
Yeah, very handy pickup.
Pretty good scouting at the Sharks.
Yeah. All right, move on to the Rabbitohs and Manly game. This was a bloody close game, guys. I'll go to you, Costa. What do you think of this one? Did you watch it?
I don't think I did, actually. I don't think I got that much out of it because the Rabbitohs played basically a kind of second-string team, right?
Yeah.
And in fact, both of them did, I think. So I don't think I got a huge amount out of it, out of interest. Moali, I was looking at Moali reasonably carefully. Yeah. He actually didn't impress me that much. He was fine. He kind of, made his runs, but he didn't do anything. Didn't see many kind of tackle busts or offloads or anything like that. So I'm not super excited about him, but I was sort of hoping he'd get, a lot more minutes this year with the various injuries. Sele, probably the big takeaway was Sele went off injured.
Yeah.
So maybe even more minutes for some of those Rabbitohs middles, but we'll see how we go. He got named in the extended bench, I think, this week.
Which was surprising.
Yeah, is that just because he had a good run last week? I don't know, or is he not top 17?
Yeah, I think I think as well with Molan, you need to kind of impress when you're on that fringe kind of that fringe play. You need to impress in these trials so you can try and jag that spot and get those extra minutes. And I don't think he did enough to do that. All right, guys. Baby Panthers versus the Eels. All I got out of this one, guys, was the Panthers culture. How bloody good is it? These young fellas of Penrith, bloody hell! Just their attack, everything was in formation. Their defense was amazing. And the Eels had a much stronger team. I honestly thought we were going to get smashed.
The pressure that the Panthers put on is incredible, and they do that first grade right down through the grades. That's what's so relentless about Penrith is they keep the foot on the pedal the whole time. Yeah, they were impressive, and it showed some of the talent coming through. What was good about the weekend, there wasn't a lot of takes from the weekend, and there will be next week. But what we did get from this weekend that was good was that we saw some of the depth. There's been a lot of young players that haven't had a chance to play over the COVID period and leading up to now. So it's good to see some of these young guns getting a crack.
Yeah, I agree. Move on to the Dragons and the Saints. I got out of this game. I got Panthers 30 plus this week. Perso.
Yeah. I've seen a few of those pages with talking up St Helens. They'd be flat out beating a rug with a lump of 4v2, let alone beating the Panthers. The Panthers will easily win this game.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed, I watched that game all the way through, and I thought to start the game, the St Helens they were just trying really hard to get those, their attack. Like they've watched our games and try to get our attack, but it doesn't work when they have a different attack over there because the defense is a lot easier to get through, and they were trying to do those long cut up passes, and they look good, but then they just lost that form, and then they just couldn't consistently, I guess, pull off that attack that they're trying to pull off the NRL. So
Panthers will destroy them through the middle.
Oh, I reckon last week's Panthers would have beat them.
I reckon so.
The defensive
sorry. Just on the Dragons, Lomax is playing on the left.
We did note that,
yeah.
If that's a coach brain explosion, like the one thing he's got is that right-handed flick pass to his winger on the right.
Yep.
And you taking that away from him. Like I know that it didn't kind of work that well last year, but if he can kind of hone it, it's a weapon. Like some of his try assists are amazing.
Yeah.
And by far, coach Hook thinks, I'll just put him on the left.
Suli was probably their best player last year on the left.
Correct. It's mind-boggling.
It's Hook, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Hook's probably got sick of him doing that pass because it didn't work so often. So
Sloan will probably have a blinder in the Charity Shield this weekend, and then he'll come round 2 when the Dragons actually turn up because they got the bye in round 1, and bye will be at fullback.
Alrighty. One of the best games I thought this week. Storm versus the Roosters. Costa, thought in this one, mate.
Yeah, that was a pretty good game actually. Roosters, I mean, it was pretty close. The Roosters put a reasonably strong side. I thought they all looked, they looked pretty good. Sam Walker had a couple of nice try assists. He looked pretty good. The big boppers. I was hoping to see a bit more from Ben Wong. Yeah. And he didn't show that much. I guess that was my main takeaways from that game. Obviously, the injuries from Melbourne. So Olin breaking his arm opens up a spot for someone.
Warwick, probably.
Yeah, Warbrick.
Sorry. Yeah, that's cool.
What did we think of how Cheese played hooker for that little bit there? What do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
He looked good.
That pass, that was a good pass.
Just get him in your team. He's very good.
There was a concern there for me. When you see him when he came off, he looked absolutely smashed. He looked absolutely hammered. And I wonder how much of a 80-minute game he plays, especially for the first 4 or 5 rounds.
He won't play 80 at all season.
Yeah, no. But did you see him when he came off? He was dead set dry reach and he was struggling.
Yes. All right. Let's go on to I didn't watch this game at all, guys. So I did hear a lot of the chats go off about how good the Dogs are. So Raiders versus the Dogs, Glenn. Did you watch this one?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. There's a few players in there I like Raymond Falata-Mariner. There's a few players. I can't really remember who went around. I sort of sat back. I sat down with my book ready to write everything out. And then when I realised half the comp was missing, I thought, well, I'll do this next week and just sit back and enjoy the footy. And the only 2 games I really got any enjoyment out of was the Storm Roosters game and the All-Stars game. But, I mean, the Dogs look better in defence. Their defensive structures look better. They look like they're working towards something. In the past, I've never quite been able to work out what patterns they're using. You're talking about St Helens. They're so far behind the defensive structures that Australia use in our game, and it's very evident. And you'll see that next week when they play Penrith, just how that they use that old umbrella or the slide, and it's just not quite the way the game's evolved. And they're going to get found out next week on the edges, especially around Hurrell.
All right, guys. Cowboys and Dolphins. Go to you, Perso. Dolphins not leaking as many points as we all thought they were going to leak.
No, I've said this. I've been pretty heavy on this for a while with the Dolphins. I think Wayne Bennett's always been a defensive coach, and he's got a lot of players that are defensive minded from the Storm, and I think defensively they'll be up. Attack wise, not so much. They just sort of it's going to take time, but it was still a pretty weak Cowboys side. That it's the first city out for the Dolphins. But like coming into this season, everyone's going to think, Dolphins are going to get smacked by 50 every week. That won't be the case, I don't think.
No, they're like you said before, they've got like a lot of those Melbourne heads, but those not just the fact they're from Melbourne, but the fact that they're so experienced. These guys have been front rows for years now, and like they know how to run a defensive line. So and with the attack,
their forwards pack's fairly solid. Like it's not a world-beating forward pack, but it's solid, and they'll lay a platform enough, and I think Bennett will get the edges trying on to get their defence right. So I can see them staying in a lot of games. I just think they probably lack the class.
Yeah. But I reckon that'll come with it. Like they've got that foundation now. Everyone was bagging them because they didn't get that marquee kind of big player like Munster or Ponga, but they've got that foundation there, and they've got a young Soz, Sean O'Sullivan, who definitely has the skills to become that. He's a bit probably inexperienced at the moment, but will become pretty good. So they have a pretty good foundation, and I don't think they need that marquee player just yet. They're not going to. No one's expecting them to come out and win the grand final in year one, obviously. So they've got a good foundation to start.
They have signed a couple of really good key juniors as well, in the likes of Bostock and Faro and those sort of guys, and Katoa. So
Katoa, yeah.
There's a foundation there. Bennett knows what he's doing.
Yeah, that's it.
Can I disagree?
Can I just say something? You've let Ray Stone, I thought, looked good. His run on defence was he'll be one that'll stand out this year. It was good to see just for the Dolphins, for them to get up and the excitement in the club, but I think that club's going to struggle myself. Like Perso just pointed out, I think they'll be SuperCoach killer when it comes to shutting down middles, but
early on at least.
Yeah, they just don't have the potency.
They haven't got a lot of depth either, so once that cracks in, that'll affect them. But
yeah,
there's I can't decide in my own head whether I believe the kind of hard-nosed, narrative of some of those first graders, or whether they're just going to look a bit old and slow, and teams like the Roosters are just going to run straight over them.
Yeah.
I can see a world where the Roosters put like 60 points on them in that first game, no matter what Bennett does. But maybe I'm wrong.
I concur.
Only time will tell. We've played a waiting game. All right. Last game of the week, 24-all draw with the Broncos and the Titans. Costa, what do you think of this one?
Broncos and Titans. I was extremely frustrated that Fafita still doesn't seem to be getting the ball, despite the fact that Boyd and him apparently played together or something. That was probably the main thing.
I think it's the coach, I reckon.
Yeah. They just haven't really learnt much, right? Boyd actually looked pretty good. I've been kind of, I reckon he's a bit of a trap, but he actually looked pretty good. I'm still not going to get him on my team, but he looked better than I thought. Had a lot of touches. It'll be interesting to see how he goes with Foran and Brimson there if he plays sort of a lesser role, because he was kind of directing the whole side around the park.
He's got a pretty good ball running game too. That little step he was doing close to the line was actually quite threatening in that game. So,
yeah.
Well, did you hear what Gordon Tallis was saying in the commentary box? He was saying he's actually going to Titans camp and having a word with the Titans, and he has the secret to unlock Fafita. This is what Gordon Tallis was saying in the commentary of the game. So, I want to see any news coming from Gordon Tallis's words of wisdom to Fafita, but we'll see how that goes, eh?
Is the secret to passing the ball? Because it's not that hard.
See, at training, smashed all the halfbacks and make sure they pass it to you.
Not that hard. Anyway,
that's it.
There's a couple of players that I thought stood out in that game. I just want to quickly mention. So Walsh at the back of the Broncos, I thought was exceptional. I really thought he opened up that back five. Particularly, I thought he was really good. The other one I liked, there was two of them. One was that Kenny, and Jojo Fafita. I thought Fafita's work rate wasn't where I quite liked it, but I still think it's an exciting prospect to make money. And so just those two I thought looked pretty good, especially Kenny.
So Walsh has got a broken eye socket or something.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. Wow.
It's no surgery required, but it will be a 1 to 3 weeks on the sideline from what was reported by the physio. Around one. So it's an unusual one, actually. The picture on the the post from physio, it was like inside the eye but underneath, like it was real deep in. So it's a very unusual one, but because there's no surgery required, it should heal quite fast on its own. So
Yeah, hit him with the back of his head.
yeah, it's
Come
brutal.
down.
My girlfriend's pretty upset about that one because she just talks about his eyes nonstop.
Mate, honestly, he's a very pretty man.
I date him.
All right, guys, that's all the trials. Do you want to talk about any of the lineups for next week, or do we want to just
We'll go into the All Stars quickly because I
yeah,
thought
oh yes, of course.
Yeah.
I didn't actually write because that wasn't part of the trial schedule. I didn't write that down. So, what do you think of the All Stars? Glenn, we'll go to you, mate.
Well, I thought there was quite a bit that stood out. I mean,
Mm.
Cobbo was so exciting to watch. I mean, I don't know if you've heard me say it 100 times, but I think that Suwali and Cobbo are really going to light up this year. There's a few that I wrote down that I like. I mean, Hopgood, you know, he was beastly. Hines was incredible. But the two that it really impressed me was Preston Ricky and Jordan Ricky.
Mm.
I thought those two were incredible.
Yeah, that try from Ricky, bossy. I thought he was held initially, but then yeah, it was a brutal because he's got that power to do that, but he just hasn't been doing it for the club level. I don't know why. So
Preston particularly, he was impressive.
honestly, I was really surprised to see that Nico Hines' score was only like 64.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't know if that's correct. I mean, line breaking his defence alone, I know how many tackles he made, but it looked like he made a lot of tackles. And then he had that line breaker try and he put a few in. He put one in as well. I mean, he also put that one in with, who was it, on the right edge, and then he come back in and again.
yeah, so that with that one there, actually, he passed it. Then there was no line break. That's probably why. Yeah, so he got the try assist, but there's no line break.
Yeah.
So that's why probably the less points there. But it's a bit when he looks like he's having a good game, and then you see that kind of score, and you think, is he worth the 900K?
Oh, mate, that's been a question every coach's mind.
Yeah.
Well, most coaches.
I agree on Cobbo. Cobbo looked really, really good. He's gotten bigger and faster, it looks like. And the Broncos' draw from round 3 is phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
The first 2 rounds is bad, and then they have like 5 games in a row or something at Suncorp, and they're all against like pretty average teams. He could be a real pod. It'll be a hard one to get in for a lot of people, I think, as well, because you wouldn't want to start with him with like Penrith first up, I don't think.
No.
I mean, you could, but it'd be a ballsy move. So
if you
I don't
want
think
to
people will have the funds to get him in, so he'll be a monster pod.
So the other one is a bit cheaper is Stags. Points per dollar. He could actually be value on that edge.
Yeah, I can't go on.
Can't get on board. Yeah, I get it.
He killed me last year.
I think the difference with there is that Cobbo seems to really want that ball and wants to have that run, where Staggs has a habit of getting a bit lazy there, I think. So that could have been his injury, but I just see it seem to happen all the time. So
yeah. And you look at Cobbo in that All-Stars game, he had 6 errors, but it didn't phase him.
No, that's right.
He still just pops up when it was needed, and he scores like 3 tries in 12 minutes. So he'd be that X factor if you're going to go for anyone out of that Broncos back line.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, spoiler alert, he's actually in my team. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice. I thought Joe Tarpany looked really good too.
Yeah.
He's just like fills the stat sheet, right? Like offloads, tackle busts, little line break here and there. Run. Yeah, he's great. He's in my team.
Yeah, Tarpany is like, I'm going a bit cheaper in the forwards, but if I was to start with any gun, I wouldn't go anywhere else but Tarpany, I think.
Interesting that. So do you have Grant Costa?
Yeah.
You do? Because I've been debating between Grant and Tarpany because I see the value in Tarpany too. I just think he's a loft and set and forget.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I've gone dirt cheap in the centre wing.
Yeah, right. I've got a gun centre wing. Right.
Alrighty. Anything else about the All-Stars game that stood out for anyone? No. Oh, good. Let's we'll jump into some centre wing position right now. So, Glenn, we'll go through the guns first, mate. You got some guns there ready to go?
Yeah, I've written down a few that I really like. So the obvious ones are Holmes, averaged 68 last year. Toho, who averaged 59, which I think is a little under. I really like Herbie Farnsworth as a pod. I really like the whole back line of the Broncos, to be honest. I've got Stags down here, Cobbo, Manu, Suwali and Garrick. There's a couple others, but they're the ones that I think really stand out. Targo, May, Graham, there's a few pods there. But I I really like Garrick, Holmes, and Toho as one of the ones to start with. Suwali or Cobbo.
Can I just disagree with one of them?
Yeah, which one?
This is going to be a bit of a controversial one. I don't think Toho is a great start.
Yeah.
So people think that he's going to get his base back to 2021 levels. The reason why his base was so high in 2021 was because he had Charlie Staines on the other side.
Yeah.
Charlie Staines is afraid of the ball.
Yeah.
So he's not going to get anything more than he did last year. He's still going to be on the right. I mean, maybe the right gets a little bit more ball. He's got an early bye. I don't think there's a lot of growth there. I think
actually agree, Costa, believe it or not.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, he's not a bad pick, right? Like, he's going to be one of the top centre wings, but I don't think he's a particularly good pick. The draw isn't that good.
I don't know that he'll be a top centre wing. To be honest, there's no downside to him. I don't think he'll be any worse than what he's at. But that whole 2021 season was an outlier for every attacking player, and it was a massive outlier for him. And he was on the left in that season, as well. And as you said, you had Charlie Staines on the right. But we all know the Panthers attack left. He got a lot more attack that year as well as his base. So at that point, Charlie Staines' base was like, he'd be lucky. It was terrible.
Nothing. And Toto just took 2 runs in every set, right?
Yeah. You look at that's the outlier. Last season, 59.3, which is about where he is on the right, I think. 84 average in 2021. It's just a complete outlier. Like I really don't take the 2021 season with a lot of any attacking players average that they're ever going to get back to that, because that season was an outlier for a number of reasons. 2020, he was on the right, 58.9. 2019, he was on the right, 56.7. He had Mansour on the left. I think that's about where he is. He's that type of player. He's not terrible. Like, he's a good base, and he's going to be around that 60 average, but I just don't see an upside where you're going to pay that money for him to, like, you think he's going to get back to 70 plus again. I don't see it myself.
Yeah, completely agree. And also, like, you know, a lot of people have Garner. Almost everyone has Cleary. That's a big. So you're going to have 3, like, pretty expensive guys.
And that's a massive headache early on. With that Panthers bye.
Yeah, so I don't really see it. I think he's a bigger void, to be honest.
What I think with I like to put people in different baskets. So I think with Toto, he's that guy that you'd let him drop down in price a little bit and wait for that really juicy matchup and get him as that, like, low ownership pod for that week. I think he'd be that guy to get, because he has that upside in him once in a while, and you get that big score out of him like he did last year. But I think it's going to be 50, 50, 50, 110, 50, 50, 50. That's what you probably get out of him. So
yeah,
he's the second highest owned gun centre wing at the moment.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
All right. Strange there. All right. So, Perso, you got some cheapies for us there, mate. This is a bit of a contentious one, the cheapies, because a lot of cheap.
Talking centre wing cheapies.
Yeah, because it's like there's a lot of cheapies out there, but it's like how many of them are actually going to be traps, like lower? Like I call cheapies around 350, around there down the price rise. So yeah, thoughts there, Perso?
I think there's more traps at centre wing than there is cheapies, unless looking at the way teams are named this week, we had injuries to Xavier Savage, so Harley Smith-Shields will probably get a run on the wing, and Rapana will go to fullback, so that'll open up an extra cheapie. Alamotti looks like he's pretty much sewn up a spot. Khan Pereira looks like he's sewn up a spot. So you've got those sort of guys, which if they're named, everyone's going to jump on them. So they're good options. I think it's more the mid fullbacks, like the higher end cheapies, fullbacks that are going to pose a bit more of a trappy side of things. Like everyone's thinking Stone. I don't think Stones will get named anyway, but people are on Stones. The Hammer, I think the Hammer's a massive trap. I couldn't go near him at that price. He's nowhere near bottom dollar. Even C&K, I think everyone, like, he's highly owned as well, but there's very little upside to him. These sort of guys, everyone just sort of jumps on that. Fullback named in centre wing, we can get on. Even Pernam, like, I haven't seen enough from him. I haven't got any of those guys on my side. They're easy enough to bring in if they do go off, but if you get stuck with them, and they are pushing out 30s and 40s every week, and then the second wave of cheapies doesn't come on sort of 4, 5, 6 rounds in, you're stuck with these guys you can't downgrade to. you're trying to find money elsewhere to upgrade them to someone else. There's a lot of them I don't like.
So I agree with all that except for one. So I think that's like with C&K, for example, his fullback average in high minute games last year was in the 30s, like high 30s. So he's fell off a cliff. Like his tackle bust and his offloads, everything really dropped off. So you'd have to see something from him in this trial game in the weekend.
Yeah.
That makes you think he's kind of gotten back into form. Otherwise, I think he's a massive void.
And he could easily get moved out of fullback for Metcalf or someone quite quickly.
Yeah,
too.
exactly. He could get moved. Perham is the one I quite like out of all them. So he didn't do that much in the All-Stars game, but he had a few little glimpses there that made me think he could score quite well. And I saw some figures of him in New South Wales Cup last year that he had like pretty good base, and he's a bit of a ball player as well. So I think he's going to be pretty good. I can see Perham averaging 50.
Yep.
So he's in my side at the moment.
Which wouldn't surprise me if you look at that Dogs side. I thought they were quite crisp in that trial. And I wouldn't pay any attention to Perham's performance in that All-Stars game. He had a second rower playing hooker and two guys that aren't first graders in the halves. You look at the way that structure was for the Dogs in that trial, they look pretty crisp. So Perham he was definitely the better of the lot of them, but I'm quite happy to watch him first.
Yeah, I quite like him too. I have him as well. I actually think he's busy, and for that alone, I like him. He's active. I've got enough to like from him. He was rocks and diamonds. He made a lot of mistakes, but he was busy. He was in there.
He strikes me as a Dane Laurie type too, though. He won't have a lot of base. So.
That's fair.
But in the Bulldogs as well, they're not the Bulldogs of old. They're starting to come a bit better. So the attack is going to start coming. So they might get some more attack points there as well. So
getting better. They got a bloody sombrero sending over their way.
They got a fishing line just bloody luring panthers over, mate. That's what that is. So, what are our thoughts on is it young Thompson from the Rabbitohs? What are we thinking there?
I just think it was tough.
Yeah, it's just about whether he's got the spot.
Yeah,
because of Milne. I think if he's got the spot, he'd be great. Like, he looks like he's got good base.
Yeah.
Latrell's going to put him over for enough tries. So it's just, do you take a punt on him?
Sorry,
like, I think the word is sort of that he has won the spot, but like, I don't really know that. So yeah, it's a bit of a gamble.
And the last one I really wanted to talk about was Remus Smith, 316k. Glenn, your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I have him in my side, mate. He ceiling club, like I not with confidence, but I feel like his base is good enough for me to start early and like just to sit at a comfortable, Yeah, I don't mind him, mate.
So just on Smith, I don't know if you saw, but Bellamy said in the preamble to the game on the weekend that he's had a pretty bad preseason. Like he hasn't trained a lot. He's sort of been on and off. So that's kind of, I was sort of on the fence with him anyway. I was kind of like not quite sure. And that's sort of, maybe there's nothing in that, but it's probably enough for me to not go that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially, I think, you're right. I was always like, I've been in my team at the moment just because the price is right, really. But that was the only thing that was really luring me to him. And the fact that it's Remus Smith, normally he has pretty decent job security. And I'm looking at other guys like Perham. Does he get the spot? You know what I mean? So, but I'll definitely be keeping an eye on that then for sure. All right. That wraps up the cheapies. Go to you, Costa. You got some avoids there for us, mate.
I've always got some avoids. Some controversial ones. I mean, are we still talking centre wing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Centre wing avoids. I mean, I went to town on Dot already, so that's probably my main one. Sawali's pretty popular, and as much as like he's an absolute weapon, I'm just not sure how he's going to go in centres.
Yeah, I agree.
The centres aren't a great. Like, I don't think the Roosters centres have done that well. I mean, Manu gets points, but that's because he's roaming around all over the place.
Suali's more owned than Toto at the moment.
Yeah, so I
agree with you.
I don't know if he was on the wing, I'd actually maybe have a shot at him, but in the centres, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah, I had Swiley because I got Holmes in my team. I got a few more guns in my centre wing. I got Holmes and Cobbo. I did have Swiley, but I really liked the look of Cobbo. I thought I'd swap to him a bit cheaper as well.
Nice.
So that's the avoids there, mate. I've got a massive list of pods here. We won't talk too much on all of them. We've got players here, I'd say fallen guns, where you got Dane Gagai with a really soft draw, 0.7% ownership, but I don't think he's going to be at that standard. I think he's more of an origin player. Bradman Best as well. Anyone thoughts on Bradman Best? I'm obviously like poaching the Newcastle players because of their opening draw, but in saying that, they are also still Newcastle themselves as well. So what are your thoughts on Bradman Best?
I like it, mate. I actually like the back line, the whole back line of that night. So I was looking over it today, and I really do. One of my fears for that side is Lockie Miller at fullback. I actually think he takes too much ball, and he doesn't allow the ball to get out to his backs. So I'm going to be watching Miller closely in the draw and how it impacts. But I do like Best, especially with Ponga there. I just think that he could open that up.
Yeah.
Perso?
Probably the only one of those Knights backs that I'd like for Supercoach would be Marju on the left, on that left edge.
Yeah.
With Ponga sweeping around that side. I couldn't go near the rest of them. Dom Young maybe, but I think they're going to be left heavy. So, and I think it's the Knights. It's not like he was in and out of the side all the time last year, Marzu, and he's got his defensive lapses. And you look at the other guys underneath him. So the rest of the Knights players under that, your Tawalas and your Hunts and those sort of guys. So I think they have a bit more stability this year at the Knights. So if I was going to take a punt on any of them, it'd be Marzu.
Yeah, I think the floor is too high to be that risky as well. So I get where you're coming from.
I think points per dollar Marzu is a little high, but I do like him. Perso, he's Supercoach friendly, isn't he?
He's not cheap, but yeah, his game. He's a tackle buster. He's got a lot of base stats, and if he can get on the outside, if Ponga finds form, and he could score with that draw, he could score a few tries. But as we said, he's the Knights. That Knights draw, it wouldn't surprise me if they're 1-6 after 7 rounds.
Yeah, Costa.
Yeah, Marzi didn't look that good on the weekend. I mean, he didn't. I don't know how much he played, but I'd watch him again this weekend to see if there's anything there. But yeah, he didn't excite me on the weekend. I'll be watching Miller pretty closely, if I'm honest. When the news first broke, he was sort of flavour of the week for a week or so, and then everyone's gone off him. Maybe for good reason. Like, we haven't seen a lot of him in first grade. He's not actually young. He's like 28 or something.
Yeah.
But I'll be watching him pretty closely because he does seem to have a very Supercoach friendly game. He's not cheap, but if you're going to splurge on a centre wing, I don't think Miller would be the worst.
Yeah, there's a few a lot of pods that I got in here around that price range. Like they've got the Marzu, we've got the Cobbo at 586, and then Miller at 593. And there's one that I wanted to talk about here. He's always a proven gun. It's just a bit more expensive. 2.3% ownership is Daniel Tupou. Yeah. Decent first 2 games. Does get a bit tight there. They had the buy in round 4, obviously, as well. But I think we fall into that trap of having, because there's quite a few Roosters in our team. We've got Teddies. Yeah, there's a few there. So thoughts on Daniel Tupou to start? He had a pretty good start to the season last year too.
Well, the only negative is the way the buys fall.
Yeah.
And that you'd be probably loading up on Roosters. That's just, especially with Cheese coming in the second row, if Crichton stays away, and you've got both Butcher brothers that get good options as well, and people will be avoiding Hines and maybe going, if you're avoiding Hines, you go into Sammy Walker. That's probably the only, there's a lot, too many Roosters options, but Tupou will be solid again. But for that reason, I think I couldn't start with him, only purely because of that.
Yeah, you also got to think as well, for 605k, can you look at maybe up in your second row with a bit more of a solid player as well? Because, like I said, there's that first 2 games are quite soft, but then it does, and that's only we're only going off the Dolphins being soft, and then. Like, I think last year he had his first game was like 35 points, and he smashed out a 71 and a 72 the week after. So
then they've got South Spy, Parramatta.
Yeah, so exactly. Yeah, so it's a very tough draw after those first 2 games. So, and you have to wait on getting him later on because he's going to probably have a decent break even, then play against 3 tough teams in a row, and then be back down again. Tough times.
Just on Miller, the fact that I said I don't like him, that's not for Supercoach. I don't like him as a player in the team. I feel like he doesn't complement the rest of the team. But from a Supercoach perspective, I agree with Costa. I think that he's Supercoach gold because he's selfish. And it's those kind of selfish players that like to run, and he gets a lot of tackle busts. He seems to be the apex defender, and he gets tackle busts as well. So
I think with Miller, just the sample size, I couldn't go near him.
Miller
He came into a Sharks side, and 3 of those games he was on the wing in a gun side, and he was going there. He was the Sharks' 3rd string fullback. The Knights have snapped him up because they're desperate for a foot. I don't know. Might be reading too much into it with Miller, but I'm quite happy to see how he folds into that Knights side.
He'd have to have an absolute blinder this weekend for me to be interested. Like, he'd have to have about 25 runs or something.
Yeah, he's
but yeah, no, I sort of agree. We haven't talked about the MacDad pod of them all, though.
Graham.
Joey Manu.
Oh, Manu. Yeah, right.
Now, people are going to say over the course of the season he's overpriced because, there's those big scores at fullback and at 5'8" and all that sort of stuff, which is true. But those first 2 games are so good that he could easily bust out 120 both weeks, and he could be the one that's the beneficiary rather than like Teddy or whoever else. And he could, if you wanted to lock in an early trade, which you'd never advise, then go down to Holmes, who's super popular. Yeah. And Holmes has a couple of tough games first up.
Yeah.
Well, toughish. So, I mean, that wouldn't be the worst pod option.
I don't hate it at all.
Well, one of the things I've always said, I think the last year we talked about pods, and we have to ask ourselves, why are they pods? And the answer that really kind of I like to hear, and I normally go from, is why is he a pod? He's too expensive. If he's too expensive, then everyone's thinking the same thing. Why don't I try and squeeze him in my team, and no one else will have him? So there's other reasons.
Centre wing, and he bangs out 30-30.
And there will be a centre.
I mean, that's possible too.
Yeah. There's a centre wings that will be bottom dollar that will outscore in points per dollar.
I actually don't think the Roosters won't flog the Dolphins in round 1. They should win, but it won't be a flogging.
Oh, I feel like if you want to give me some odds on that, I might take them.
Yeah, me too.
The Warriors game worried me until I've seen the way the Warriors are now too. So the Roosters always start slow as well. Tedesco's had 1 score over 39 in the 5 years he's been at the Chooks.
Yeah, they do.
But they got beat by the Knights last year in round 2, the Chooks.
Yeah, they had a lot of injuries going the last couple of years. I think their side that I look at, the Roosters now, they're a good pack.
Well, they're my favourite for the season, but it won't surprise me if they don't set the world on fire in the first sort of. They just Robbo seems to have them tailored towards the end of the season. Even not last year, the year before, when they had that many injuries and they should have no right to be where they were. They were firing. They just seem to fire post Origin, the Chooks.
Yeah, they do.
And this brings us neatly to my last and my favourite pod of them all, and that is, we've already spoken about him, that's Cobbo. I just love a pod with upside. Tough draw at the start, but I find that Broncos and Penrith, I know that often Broncos get beaten quite a lot by Penrith in the last few years, that is. There's some big scores there from centre wings against Penrith in the last few years. I think Stags and Farnsworth got 100 as well against them. So there's some definite scoring opportunities there for Cobbo. So I'm expecting a 50 maximum from Cobbo in round 1. But I'm liking the ideas having for that run. I think there's like 7 games in a row at Suncorp Stadium with a pretty decent draw.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That early draw. Once they get past the first couple of games, and then the one game away they've got is the Eels in Darwin, I think. They play that.
Yeah,
I think it's 8 of the first 10 games is at Suncorp, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's crazy. Eh?
Can I just mention 2 players that we haven't spoken about? And just quickly, one's Garrick. Garrick plays centre. I won't be touching him for the same reasons we mentioned earlier with Suwali. But if he was to stay on that wing, Turbo playing Schuster 5'8", there's a lot to like of Garrick. Just quietly, who was it that stepped in as 5'8" the other day for Manly. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Johns.
Johns, yeah, geez, I thought he played well.
That's the best game he's played.
It was a very good game. And the other one I wanted to mention
He's been named at halfback this week with
yeah,
Perso.
I watched him close, mate. I really like him. Was May. Now, I know we can't start May. He's obviously out for a few, but he could be one that I think you could pick up early as a pod. I just thought I'd throw them out there anyway, Garrick and May.
Yeah, no, I like May in there. I think he's out until round 3 for that suspension, unless they get it postponed to 2024 again.
You know what I like best about this pod talk? No one's mentioned Nofaluma, and rightly so.
I've got him written down, but I didn't talk about him. Yeah, I got him written down here, but I didn't talk about him.
He's been on the downcline for a long time, and people always get excited because he's had a couple of seasons where he was great, but yeah, just stay away from Nofo.
I think that's right, but if Staines gets picked on one of the wings, pick the other winger.
Yeah,
for the same reason as we talked about with Bob.
Wacko reckons that Staines is going to get picked over Nofo, so maybe go from fucking Mamalo then.
Mamalo, yeah.
Mamalo could look if Mamalo looks okay this weekend. Did he get named this weekend?
Yeah, him and Nofo are the wingers.
If he looks less injured, like last year he was running around.
He was busted all season.
Yeah. If he looks fit and firing, Mamalo's not the worst shout.
Yeah,
he's got a good work rate.
Staines is on the other wing.
Can I say something that I thought about with I think Nofo? His decline really started when Mamalo got there because Mamalo, just like Tylan May, has taken a lot of those heavy hit ups at the start, which is where Nofo got his base. And I was like, Nofo had a reasonable season last year, and like you said, Mamalo also was carrying a bit of an injury around, so that could be the fall. So if Mamalo's looking good, he could be the new Nofo.
That's right. So, to the left side.
It's a great shout out. It's a great shout.
Yeah.
I picked up Mamalo in a draft. Was it 2 years ago when he had that little
he does have a good run.
Good. Yeah, he definitely is good. He can hit a good base. I think they just stole base from each other, Nofo and Mamalo. So
yeah.
All right, let's move on to second rowers. So we'll start with you, Glenn, on the guns, mate. What do we got?
I knew you were going to do that.
Oh, I started you first. You haven't had a chance to.
Yeah, I have. So I've looked at a few. So I've got one that no one's going to agree with. I actually have Lane in my side at the moment. I'm probably going to swap him back to Murray or someone else. I had Gus, and if Gus plays, it's obviously Gus. But there's a few that I've written down here. Obviously, David Fafita, Gus, Lane, Murray, Yo, and Kaloa Matungi. And I like Kaloa Matungi based on the draw and playing the bye round 13. And that's the reason I like Lane as well.
Mm. Yeah, I think a couple of those written down here that are in the pod section as well. So,
yeah, Colin Tungy's only 2% owned.
And that's it. So, Hudson Young had a pretty cracking season last year. Are we think he's going to kick on again this year?
Yeah, there's some talk that CHN might get a spot. Corey I'll be all over that if he does.
Hudson Young's a gun. He's a great player, but he had 11 tries last year, and a lot of those were like off the cuff tries himself too. Like, that's when you're talking Supercoach start the season, is there upside there with him?
Yeah, he's priced where he's priced at his.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah.
I've got a very controversial one that's even worse than that for that reason. Jeremiah Nanai.
Yep. You knew.
I'm all over Nanai. So
I couldn't go near him.
Yeah, I know. And every podcast pretty much has written him off. And I get it. Like most times I would say that I agree with that because, you want the guys with high base and whatever. But just at a counterpoint, I kind of see him almost like a winger. Like, so his base is about 38 from last year. First thing is it increased over the season. So it started the year at like 34, 35 and went up into the low 40s by the end of the year. So it did get better.
Yeah.
But also, he scores tries in so many different ways. He scores tries from kicks. He scores tries from line breaks. We only started to see how good a line he could run towards the end of the year. He's got a massive ceiling. He put 150 on the Dragons. They've got the best draw in the comp.
Yeah.
He's going to get more offloads, more tackle busts this year. He started the season at 18 years old last year, right? So his power stats are going to go up as well. I just think that 62 or 63 with that draw is not beyond him at all. Yeah. I see him as like a high base winger.
I don't see him going any better though. That's the argument with him.
I reckon at least in that first 8 games, he can go 70 plus.
Because he's got that game. Like he's a gun. He's such a good player.
Yeah.
17 tries last season. He had 8 games out of the 21 where he scored under 60.
Yeah. But I guess what I'm saying is,
I know you're going to think he's improved, but like he's still got those low games in him. And at that price, I think he's the type of guy you need to target when he's going to go on a run. If you think the Cowboys are going to go on a run early, then I could 100% jump on him.
But that's when it is, right? The run is the first 8 games.
Sort of. They've been kissed on the dick again with the draw, that's for sure. But
there's a narrative going around that Cowboys and Sharks can't do what they did last year, and I
think they can
that with either, because they change. Either side's hardly changed at all. I mean, I think Cowboys lost Gilbert. I can't think of any major losses there or in the Sharks. So I don't subscribe to the theory that they won't do as well as they did last year. And if you keep that in mind, I agree on Nanai. I'm not going to start Nanai, but I have looked at him myself a bit. He did it to me last year. I looked at him halfway through the year and he said he's got all these through tries. He's not going to continue to do this. And he did. And he did it in rep games too. He just kept on doing it.
For me, Nanai is more of a post-origin target.
Yeah.
If the Cowboys are still right up there and sides start falling away, that's when he's going to get his 2 tries, 3 tries a game, and against the weaker sides, because he doesn't have the base at that price. I can see him dropping early, and then when he's big, he's the type of guy you sort of target. But for me, he could play. He definitely could with a draw. Costa could be all over it.
I just think you can't, like, we don't know what he is yet. Like, I don't even
That's
think
true too.
He doesn't have the base yet, because he was 18 last year. Like, we haven't even seen the finished product yet at all. So, I mean, you're taking a punt, but I just think there's a lot of growth there in a lot of different ways. But anyway, we'll see.
We spoke about Tarpany earlier on. What do you think about Tino?
Too expensive.
Yeah.
With the team build, like I think Tino will be good as well. Same with Tarpany. I can't start with either Tino and Tarpany because of the. He's a
I
deal.
was just saying as a counter.
But there's so much value in the second row forward.
Yeah, I'm talking in front row actually. Tarpany's dual.
Yeah, and then front row, I can't pay up in front row.
Yeah,
that's just more team build.
Tarpany not playing Origin and playing the first bye is a big thing too. Like, I think you can just lock in Tarpany and have him there the whole year.
Yeah,
I think he's a pick up. Do we trust that he's going to get the same minutes that he got? Which I've done a thing with Tarpany. His minutes didn't go up; they went up by 5. They went up by 5 minutes. Pre-Origin last year, he averaged like 57 till that round 13 when the bye came in. He got 5 extra minutes from there till the end of the season, and he averaged like nearly 80. So I'm quite happy to watch Tarpany to start with, because I don't think he's not going to explode. I think he'll lose money, and then when his BE gets lower, you pounce on him and you hold him for the season.
I want him. I want him from the beginning, and I'm just going to hold him.
That's not a bad play. He's not going to hurt you.
I mean, like, you could be right. He may not start at like that kind of 80 average, but they've got a reasonably soft draw. And I just think, like, he's established himself as the leader of that pack now. And he didn't do that until about midway through the season, I don't think.
Yeah,
that's true. He's gotten a year older. Elliott's not there anymore. I can't see him not playing 55 plus minutes. And if that guy's on the field for 55 plus minutes, he's going to score his 66 points. Like, I have no doubt about that.
That was the point I was trying to make, but everyone sort of thought he got extra minutes as the season went on. He didn't. He got 5. It just, for whatever reason, his base attack exploded from round 13 onwards. It just went through the roof. It was insane. So if he keeps that up, then he's unders, massive unders. But if he starts slow again,
I mean, I saw him bump off about 6 tackles in the All-Stars game in one run.
He did that last year too, but
pretty sure he had a line break. You know what I mean? Like, he would have racked up some points in that game, and he didn't do that much, right? I don't know.
He's not a bad option, that's for sure. But
All righty. So the guns there. So Perso, we've got some cash cows or some cheapies or value picks there.
Centre wing.
No, talking
second
row now, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's all the obvious ones, really, isn't it? Like your Hopgoods and There's a few more getting named this week. Matamua and Trey Mooney look like there might be some cheapy options there. Hopgood should be in everyone's side.
Yeah, definitely.
Garner pretty much as well. Looks pretty well like he's secured that left edge role. Don't expect him to be an absolute gun, but he's going to make some coin.
Yeah, no, that spot on the left edge there is pretty good in that team. So I think you get some good ball there, and Garner does run a decent line.
He runs a good line. He's not going to be struggling for a good ball. So
no, that's right. So I think he's definitely good value because he's going to go up in cash. I believe I think he's priced. Obviously he was playing second row and centre wing last year. So and I think he averaged like 33 in centre wing and 44 at second row. So
for whatever reason, sometimes Matt's had him on the bench playing 20 minutes. So he's definitely unders for what he's capable of.
Yeah.
But what are we expecting from him? Like, are we expecting he plays 80?
Yeah,
because
I'd say so.
Why though? Like, Kickout's first year of playing big minutes was last year, and before then he played low minutes. And the right hand back rower has never played 80 there.
And Penrith have a habit of playing
Martin played big minutes last year, but like Capewell was never particularly good for the Supercoach because he always got like 65 minutes.
Yep.
I don't know that he's going to get 80.
And they've got Hosking and Sorensen there in the
depends on the makeup of the bench. This year also you don't have Coruscant, so you've got two hookers that are.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
and they'll still have Salmon on the bench as well.
Yeah,
Sorensen will be there, right? Like, he's the guy that I'd be worried about.
He spends plenty of time in the middle.
Yeah, he's been playing so good in the middle the last 2 years that I think
his impact off the bench, his role won't change.
You don't reckon he spends any time on the edge?
He does.
It's the threat. I don't
know. I reckon I'm happy to wait on Garner with that early buy and just have a look.
He's no must-have by any chance, that's for sure.
Oh, no, of course. But if we look at the bench and the bench pulls out some kind of rub out of a hat and the bench is completely different to what we think it's going to be, then definitely something to keep an eye on. But there were other players that I think are in the same price bracket. Like, what are our thoughts on Alicia Katoa?
Again, where he's named.
Yeah.
That's the same with it. There's plenty of opportunity. You could have Chan, Liero, Katoa. All those guys could be good options at the Storm. But it just depends who's named and what the bench looks like.
My gut is that Liero is the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Melbourne.
He's the most certain.
He's the one. Like, he's done his apprenticeship now. He's got big base when he plays 80 minutes. I think he's got like a 50 base average when he plays 80. And I think he's more of an 80-minute player than Katoa is. I mean, they might both get 80. That's also possible. But I think if one of them's going to get 80 and one of them's going to get spelled by Lewis or Eisenhuth or something, that it's probably Katoa. He doesn't strike me as an 80-minute guy.
Well, he hasn't proven himself in that 80-minute role yet. He's only been playing short since.
Yeah. So Liero is a bit under the radar at the moment. I reckon he could potentially be the best of all that price range.
Yeah, he could be.
When I started looking at like predicted lineups and stuff, went to a few different websites to get a few different ideas, and the first one I looked at had Liero on the edge. This is obviously early on, and that's what kind of got me thinking about him initially at the start, and then they kind of disappeared out of nowhere. Like no one's talking about him anymore. And I don't think Sims gets that spot at all. I think he's going to be off the bench.
I think Sims will be in the middle. That's a lot of these predicted teams are saying, "Oh, Sims will be on the edge." I don't think that's the case. You haven't even seen him this year, so I think for sure. I think Liero's got one spot locked up, and the other one's between Chan and Katoa.
And what are we thinking about the Roosters' edges at the moment? So we've got probably Nat on one side. Do we think that Egan gets the other side, or looking at that the other young fella, is it Gordon?
Wong.
Yeah.
Nah, Wong. It'd be both the Butcher brothers.
Yeah.
Nat played on two of the side last year when he was out. Egan played on the left in that trial. Wong played 65 minutes on that right edge, and he was well marked. He's touted as a future star, so he could possibly in the 17. But I think if I don't, has anything actually come of what's happening with Crichton?
No, the last thing I heard was like won't be there for the first game.
Yeah.
That's the last thing I heard, yeah.
I think it'd be the Egan, the Butcher brothers, left and right.
Yeah, so that's probably a warning to stay away from, well, I'd say Egan. Stay away from Egan to start because you got Angus ready to come back. So
What about Wilton?
Yeah,
definitely a watch with what to do with Graham.
Yeah, well, ever Graham's hanging around like a fart in a shower. It's hard to
that's right.
to take him in it.
That's-
Look,
That's the thing. Like I agree with that, but I'm just as
he
worried
played
about
5'8" in the weekend, so it's
Yeah.
like Wilton could quite easily be locked in for that 80 minute, couldn't he?
He could, but I guess like that's the same worry I've got about Sorensen and Garner. Like,
Me too.
so name me a back rower that's been relevant for Supercoach that hasn't gotten 80 minutes. Like, they basically don't exist. They have to get 80.
Yeah.
So like, you really unless you know, it's hard to pick them.
Yeah.
We probably don't know with any of them. That's the thing. Like, you're basically just going to have a stab at one of them and hope for the best,
Yeah.
and then trade if you don't get it right.
But some of them could end up traps for sure.
Yeah. I remember it was last year there was a choice between I think it was Nanai and I think
Lukey.
Lukey,
Yeah.
and everyone went Lukey, and I snuck in Nanai, and I was like so happy with myself. Too bad the rest of my team was terrible, and I got a terrible score. But I was one up for Dan, but that was about it.
But that's the same thing with Katoa and Liero, right? Like it's
100%.
it's like just flip a coin, pick one.
I think the only safe one's Hopgood.
Yeah,
Hopgood,
yeah. I mean, you should at least get like 40 to 50 in the middle, you'd think.
And who gets
And-
the right wing for, right second row for Eels? Hopgood's going to be locked. Lane will be left. Who's right, you reckon?
Well, they've named
Dory.
Dory this week, but Murchie and Momasia are in the mix as well. So,
Yeah, Murchie would be interesting.
and then Madison's back round 3, 4,
Yeah.
I think he's got 3
which
games
I think
off.
he'll probably stay his role off the bench. So, does that affect Hopgood if he's named at lock?
Well, he could come
Probably.
back and play through the middle, Hopgood.
Well, I think that's where he'll be named, is at lock.
Yeah,
And
I think
Madison will keep his role off the bench.
Yeah.
So
Play 60
when
in the
Madison's
middle.
back, does that like Hopgood will come out and probably play big minutes the first games while he's not there, and then when Madison's back, is that going to affect Hopgood's game? Or does he
Yeah.
shuffle out on the edge? There's
He
so
could
many
shuffle out
unknowns
to
with
the
any of
edge.
these guys.
Yeah.
Madison could shuffle out to the edge and spell
He could as
whoever
well.
gets that. Spell whoever gets that right edge guy.
But he was so dominant off the bench in the middle last year.
Yeah.
I don't know if Arthur will want to change that role. He was dynamic off the bench last year.
Yeah, but also I think if they do have someone like maybe a Murchie on the edge to fill that edge role, then I don't think Murchie is that solid 80-minute player. Do you? So I
can see them all hurting each other.
Yeah.
Whoever gets named there.
All-
Because you look
all
at Niakora's role and
Yeah.
Orin Fusi's role, and it's up in the arm what Arthur's going to do.
I think one thing that Arthur does really well, which kind of bites us in the arse, is he gets his edge second rowers and gets them pretty much a lot of them training in the middle as well. So you had the iPad. He was playing on the edge and then in the middle. Then you got Madison, who was always a great second rower, and then started putting him through the middle as well. He's trying to get these guys almost dual skilled to make his team more versatile. And it's great for NRL,
Exactly.
like for your team, but not good for us.
A tip for people out there that are watching that are coaches. So one of the first things I do when I go through the eventual team list Tuesday is I actually start at the bench, because more often than not, what you see on the bench can tell you what's going to happen on the field. Not always, but sometimes it can be a good indicator of, because there's a new strategy now that coaches are either running with a second rower, or sometimes they've got a back and a hooker. So, that when you see something like that, you automatically see there's more minutes for forward. So, knowing who's there and how that impacts other players can be handy.
True. All right, let's move on to some avoids. Costa, you got some avoids there for us, mate?
Second row voids.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I've said my piece about all those mid-range guys, right? Like, people are very high on all those guys, and I just think, there's going to be a couple of standouts there, and the rest are probably going to be junk. So, like, I think just have a shot at whichever one you think is most likely, and be prepared to kind of burn a trade or two there to get the right one. But I wouldn't start with like 3 of them, because then it's going to be hard to move around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if 2 of the 3 you pick don't pan out, then what?
Yeah.
I mean, like, you might not have cheapies to go down to, so it might be a bit problematic.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Always be prepared to have that team fail. Have a plan B. All right. Looking at some pods here. So there's one pod I actually like. If he plays for Newcastle, I've gone for Newcastle for these pods, and that's Frizzell.
Yeah.
He tends to start the season quite good. Plays the 80 minutes. He's very, very safe, no ceiling, but I do like his consistency there. Usually he gets around the 70-point mark at the start of the season on a average, and then I think he's priced on an average of 60. So I think to start the season, you could get some value out of him there. Thoughts on that, please?
No value at all. I'll take Nanai every day of the week over Frizzell. Sorry, mate. I couldn't go near Frizzell.
I mean, yeah, he's pretty meat and potatoes. Like, and he's getting older and stuff. Like, you'd have to. Maybe he was injured last year, and like, I don't know. Like, he looked pretty bad last year, but I don't know if he was battling injuries or something. He comes out looking amazing, maybe.
Yeah, but even last year, I think he came out looking really good. I think he started off with 270s on the spot, like looking pretty solid at the start. But then he does kind of fade off a little bit. It's like he's, I know, my work's done. Kind of wipes his hand and goes, "Cool, I'm out of here now." But that could have been the Newcastle Knights kind of fell off the wagon a little bit. They had that pretty good start. They beat the Roosters in that first game, and then, but yeah, honestly, this would be one of the safest pods that would go. And I don't believe pods are meant to be safe. I think pods are meant to have that ceiling. I think you need to have that higher ceiling to get ahead. So that's just the first one there. One that wasn't too bad last year, definitely not right price, but he was actually pretty handy last year. Bo Firma, 688. That's expensive, but we know he has a decent ceiling when he needs to, and he can get some tries there. Thoughts on Bo Firma?
I think he's priced where he's at, but I do like Bo Firma. My problem with Firma is the club he plays for, Titan.
I really rate him as a footballer.
Definitely.
I think he's a great. He's running off 4 in this year too, but at that price and off that season he had, you couldn't start with. That's a big balls pod.
You know that after Manu last year, so I sold him like something like round 12 last year, like right before the first buy, and then from round 13 onwards, he was the second highest scoring centre wing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he absolutely brained it at the end of last year. Can he keep that up? I'm not sure that he can. Like he scored a lot of tries in that period. But, he's a very good footy player.
Yeah, definitely.
Can I throw 3 names at you, Dan?
Yeah, I was still going through my list.
They might be.
I'll probably get them on there, mate. So you've already mentioned one of them. That's Kulawatangi from Rabbitohs. I like Kulawatangi. I think he's a great aggressive upside as well. But I think the South had a pretty rough drawdown to start off with. Yeah. So does that really bode poorly for a second rower though? I think for a front row, I think it's a good thing to have a tough draw, but maybe not second row where there's going to be attacking points there.
Post Origin, he's one to watch.
Yeah. There's one that I would not touch, but he has definitely got some upside, and that's Olakau'atu from Manly. The reason why I wouldn't touch him is because I'm not sure what the go is with Manly at the moment. Are they still and ahhing about what happened last year in Rainbow Round? Thoughts on that one?
I like Olakau'atu.
Oh, you like him?
Yeah. I like Manly this year. Yeah, I do. I actually like Olakau'atu a lot. He was one of the 3 pods I was about to throw out.
I could not go near him to start the season.
Yeah, I try to avoid like off-field drama, like the plague, when it comes to these kinds. And I don't think it's past.
That Manly got the buy in round 2.
Yeah. And you're going to have Schuster and maybe Turbo. That's a lot. That's
the only 2 Manly players I could look at. Schuster and look, Kepi could come up as a cheapie, and then all of a sudden you've got all these. You got 3 or 4 guys in round 2, and you're already struggling to fill the side.
Yeah. Thoughts on another meat and potato play here? Curran, 568, 1.7% ownership.
Not the motor, just not the minutes.
Yeah.
Has he been cleared to play? I know he's playing the trials, but he's got that the court case hanging over his head too from Port Macquarie. So that's a
okay. I must have really poor. I don't watch the news clearly here. I didn't even know that was happening. So awesome. Lucky we've got Perso here. It's all good. One more. There's 2 more I'd really say, but is another one that's risky. New club, Kikau. How safe do we feel his minutes will be at Bulldogs?
Who fucking knows?
I
Yeah,
like
great
the other
question.
second rower, RFM, better.
Mm.
Yeah.
I've got
I
a
kept,
feeling Seraldo will play both edges for Artie,
mm,
which I think would be Kikau and Raymond Taramella.
yeah.
But
I'm pretty
you'd like to
big
see
on.
it first.
Yeah, you'd like to see it first. I'm pretty big on RFM if he gets 80, and I think I kind of tend to agree. I think he might get 80. He's a
Mm.
leader at that club. But if Davey's on the bench, he's got to spell somebody. Maybe he spells Kikau. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's
Um,
you want to see that rotation first. Don't
Yeah,
you?
you want to see it. And also, like, I'm not sure that RFM's half is going to be good enough for him. Like his best days were running a 4, and now he's going to have
outside Flanagan.
outside Flano.
The Dogs would be heavy left, you'd think.
Yeah.
You think they're going to go kick outside a fair bit with that attacking flair that he has?
Burton, Kikau, and Adokar
Yeah.
are the same side. You surely they're heavy left in attack.
And this is why I was thinking kick out for a potential pod, but I think the only question in the air is the minutes.
It's hard to see him go better than last year at Penrith, isn't it? Even with Burton there. Like, he got 76 minutes last year.
Mm.
He pretty much played Artie most weeks.
Yeah. And the last one, I'm not too sold on him just yet, and that's Adam Elliott. 8% ownership.
Coming back off injuries, he'll start off the bench.
Yeah. It's a shame because he's a good player.
That lock position at Newcastle has never really worked for anybody.
No.
Kurt Mann will be named 13 come round 1. You can guarantee it while O'Brien's there.
And they'll swap him to the bench at the last minute and all the rest of it. Like, if you knew he was getting 60 minutes, he's a weapon. But again, new club, we don't know. I'd like to see the rotation. Anything less than 55 minutes, and I don't think he's worth it.
Nah, not at all.
Right.
Yeah. Same, so it's different position, but like I keep seeing Gilbert pop up in teams, and I'm just like, why?
You want to see that too, wouldn't you?
Yeah, like
sure, it looks like he's named at 13, but that doesn't mean he's going to get more than 40 minutes.
No, he's competing
staying
with
on the bench.
He's competing with Stone. He's a meat and potatoes player. We've never seen his PPM in the middle because he's been playing on the edge. And it doesn't seem like he's going to have a lot of upside. Like, why?
And how good did Stone look on the weekend?
Yeah.
Like Stone's really starting to prove himself, and I love that post from the locker room boys. Kempy put that post out that he this guy leaks the most male testosterone in naturally in the world, and he just honestly he had a crack of a game, and his defense was what I think will win in that spot, and we all know what Bennett loves about defense. He was defending like a champion in the middle there.
Look, I think Gilbert probably gets 50 and maybe Stone gets 30, or maybe he plays a few minutes in the front row rotation and gets 40, but like 50 is not enough for Gilbert, is it?
No, I don't think so. It's probably not enough for either of them.
He's priced at 50.
Yeah, so you look at that, if you're going to get 30 from one and 50 from the other, normally you'd go to the 50, but I think the price, if I had to choose between one of the two, at the price, I'd pick Stone at the 30 minutes because he's so priced a bit lower.
I'd be quite happy to leave both, to be honest.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
Not going to.
I don't think 30 from Stone's enough to warrant either.
Oh, no. Oh, good. All right. Is there anything, Glenn, you wanted to add to that one?
There's only one other player. So the two second rowers from New Zealand, Neokora and Barnett. Barnett keeps getting robbed of minutes when he was at Newcastle. I feel like he'll get an 80-minute role on that edge. And what I like about Barnett is, similar to Gus and Lane, that he comes in and defends in the middle. So he gets that base, and then he's still going to be outside Sean Johnson if he's on the right. And I think he'll be on the right, wouldn't he?
Barnett got named a prop this week.
He's going to play prop.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got named a prop.
Well, that kills. So who's going to be the second rower? Neokora's one, right?
Jackson Ford was the other one.
Oh, mate. Is that right? I actually really like Ford. Do you know he had the most offloads in junior football? It was either the most offloads or the most tackle busts. He's actually a talent, Ford.
He's been promising for a number of years, Ford.
Yeah.
Is there someone that he's warming the seat for that didn't get named?
They named pretty much a full-strength squad this week, the Warriors.
So do we think Ford's going to get the gig? That's interesting.
Yeah, because Tavanga's out. He's out for a fair while.
And Curran we're not sure.
And they named Curran on the bench, but I don't think he's likely to play round one because of the court case over his head. So
they're not short on forwards, the Warriors. That's one of the issues.
Mm.
You never know with them. If you get named to start one week and be out of the team completely the next week.
And it's a new coach too, so you don't know what the rotation is going to be, what he's going to do.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
But yeah, it was interesting that Barnett got named a prop.
Mm. Yeah, I didn't mind Barnett when he played in the middle, like as an NRL player in the middle. He was pretty handy because he's a very, very solid and safe defender. SuperCoach should not even go close to him.
Yeah. Yeah, I like those second rowers that come in and defend in the middle, like Gus, Lane, Barnett. There's a few of them that do it.
Honestly, even was it last year? Ewan Aiken was doing it. He was on that left edge. He was actually coming in. I was wondering where he is, and I'm looking. Oh, he's actually right next to the front row defending. So the Warriors have that habit of getting the big boys in the middle to go defend.
As much as the Dolphins we think will be struggling, they name Ewan Aiken on the extended bench. Can't even make a side at centre or second row for the Dolphins.
Maybe just saving him. Maybe just
What
saving him.
do you think of Lane Costa?
I had him for a big stint last year and absolutely loved him. And
me too.
and the thing that people are missing with him is that his base, as much as he was offloading and scoring tries and try assists, his base went through the roof as well. Like his base suddenly was like 55 per game.
One of the best second rows base in the comp.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
and Brown the same.
we've never seen that before. So like, is he going to do that again? I don't know. Maybe he does. And they do have a shocking early draw. I mean, you could argue that that doesn't matter for a second row. I think it does a little bit. I think he's probably a little bit less likely to get some attack.
But he does come through and defend in the middle, which gives him good base.
Yeah, look, he's going to have good. If he's going to play like he did last year, he's a great pick. I'm not 100% sure that he's going to back it up, but
Yeah.
He fills the stat sheet, right? He gets every kind of attacking stat you can think of.
And he's got no buy up until round 13. I actually toyed with the idea of running him and Brown. And but obviously there's better value at 5'8". But I really like Brown and Lane. I started both of them last year and ran them the whole year, and they just
I'll be targeting doing a Nanite Lane trade after about 8 weeks.
6. Yeah.
With Papa Lee gone as well, do they just stay more to Lane's side now in attack too? It's just the unknown, isn't it? He could well go to another level, or he could not. It's one of those things you just want to see. You wish you could see already, see the future, rub that crystal ball.
That's what the first 3 rounds of football is for us, isn't it, really? I mean, we watch the first 3 rounds. It tells us all the answers that we want, and then we adjust. And it's the coaches that adjust correctly that reap the rewards. So it's which one of us is going to adjust right and read it right.
Has everyone got Fafita in their team?
I did have. I swapped him to Lane literally today.
Yeah,
I haven't changed my side for a while, but I've still got him and Angus in my second row, which both will probably be gone come TLT, to be honest. I think Fafita could quite easily risk not having him.
Daniel?
Yeah, I've got him in. I got him on a long side. Sorry, who else have I got in there? Cam Murray. Yeah, Cam Murray and
I'd rather Cam Murray.
I got both. So
yeah,
I've gone a little bit cheaper in my spine, or my bench spine anyway. So, but I just because I think I'm looking at what his last year was known as his worst year ever. Still averaged 66 points a game. It's a contract year. This is what is going through my head. I'm just thinking of all the usual suspects that kind of get a player going to get higher scores. I'm also taking the word of Gordon Tallis that he's going to unleash him. So
I just didn't like what I saw on the weekend.
and he's a contract year, which is a fair point.
I'd rather see what happens this weekend. It's only one thing, but
Same coach, same, I don't know. It's frustrating. I mean, there's one world where I think he can't possibly go worse than last year. And, he should be able to, just with his offloads and things, he should be able to hit a kind of 60 average without scoring many drives.
Yeah.
But sometimes I think we just think he's a better player than he is. And he's just a lazy kind of, he'll never be that good for SuperCoach.
Yeah, some people
It's a hard one.
even his work rate's not like you compare his work rate in hit ups and tackles and stuff to other edge back rowers. He's right up there.
Yeah.
But it's just if he's not getting any attack and ball, I don't know. I'd like to see more of that structure.
had like 3 sets on the line
and
in that game, and he didn't even get close to touching the ball.
Yeah.
Like there were like 3 back-to-back sets, and it was like, what are you doing?
there wasn't even a play that looked like he was going to get it or be a decoy, or like he just wasn't. It's the mind boggles at what the Titans
And that's
are doing.
from the coach, Perso. I mean,
100% it is.
Yeah,
100% it is.
Yeah, the coach can't get his players to get him isolating players one-on-one.
I got no confidence in him at all. At one point last year, he put Fafita out at centre because he saw Talakai running the muck, and he thought, we'll put Fafita out there. He's never played there, and he just got showed up. And it was just like, what he's doing.
You look at the Cowboys, and they run almost all their plays when they're going from right to left to Holmes, because they know he's the best attacking weapon out there.
Yeah.
And they run this play where he steps back inside and he beats half the team, and they do it every set on the line.
He can turn player runners as well.
Yeah, he always touches the ball in a set when they're attacking the line.
Yeah.
If Peyton was coaching the Titans, Fafita would average 100.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just incompetence, basically.
Yeah, it's right.
The mind boggles with what goes on there. It really does.
Yeah.
I think it's a similar thing with, I know it's not talking second rows here, but the Stags, if he gets that early ball, I think he can just get a bit of run up, get the steam rolling. He could do some damage as well, I think. And we just see these players and all the potential we can see, and we think we know better than the coaches. But I feel like a lot of us might actually.
Well, another one of them coaches that does my head in. I mean, they've got A-Ray and a stacked right side with Ricky, Stags,
and they're heavy left,
and they were turning back left and going to what's his name, Farnsworth. It just blew my mind. It just shows you that some coaches just have no clue.
But did you notice when that happened last year? I think Billy was on the bench, coming on at bench hooker, and it's like as soon as Billy came on the field, they went the other direction in the way we wanted them to go. Yeah. I saw that he can watch from the bench and actually went the other direction, and now I think Billy's looking to start the as number 9 this year, so it might actually go the other way around.
With a lot of these guys like Stags and Fafita, people always say, "Oh, why don't they just go in looking for the ball and take the ball?" They're told not to.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
They're told that's their shape on that side. Stay on your side. Don't come in the middle. Don't come looking for the ball. So then they hung out the dry. Yeah. And everyone thinks they're not having a go.
But like,
it's just the structure of the side.
3 of Fafita's tries last year or something like that, he's had enough. He eventually just goes to dummy half because that's the only time he knows he's going to get the ball, and just runs through the whole side.
Yeah.
And then he probably got benched the next week.
That was the week before he got put in centre.
Put in the centre, yeah. Do that again.
Further away.
Going out the centre.
We'll chuck you at fullback. Try to chuck you at fullback next week. So you're trying to get dummy half there, mate.
So that shows the lack of coaching experience. I mean, anyone that knows that a second rower doesn't have the lateral movement or the speed to defend at a centre. Defending in the centre and the wing is actually a specialised.
100% it is, especially in the modern game.
That's right. You don't just throw a second rower in there and expect him to know how to defend those shapes. It's just
especially when he's never played centre at all in his life.
That's right. It's sorry.
Awesome. All right, guys. Anything else we want to talk to regarding second rowers before we finish up?
Or we didn't touch on Holmes, did we? At centre.
I think Costa had a touch on there at the start, so we'll have another skill.
Just a couple of little. He's the highest owned centre of any kind of gun. He's highly priced. Had a cracking season last year, 68.9. Cows have got an easy draw again, but it's just I found it interesting that at no point pre-Origin last year he averaged above 60. He the first 5 rounds he averaged 53.4. For first 8 rounds, 57.25. Pre-Origin was 56.83. And then from there, he exploded 83 through an Origin and 81 post-Origin. But on the other side, once Drinkwater came in round 4, in 18 games with Drinkwater at fullback, he averaged 72.9. So which way do you go? Do you think he starts slow and loses money, or do you think he can build again? That's because he's highly owned and he's one that he's in my side, but he's one that you could easily drop to get more guns in key positions. I just sort of want to touch on your thoughts of what you think about Holmes.
I have Holmes.
Don't forget that he'd never played centre before, really.
No,
so he was coming into a team playing centre for the first time, and then, as you say, Drinkwater came in. The Cowboys as a team started to click a bit more. So Holmes has got a base of high 20s, and then he's he had something like 16 points in goals last year.
Yeah.
And, he gets a bit of base attack as well, a couple of tackle busts and offload here and there. He's basically getting 50 points for stepping on the field, assuming that the Cowboys go okay. And
he wasn't getting you many sub 50s for. He's not going to turn out 20.
So, like, he's only got to hit a 70 average. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you told me that there was a outside back from a good team with a good draw that's got a base of 50, you should take that every day of the week, right?
Yeah.
So that's the way
I'm on him. I take him over your Manu's and your Sawalis and your To'os. He's in my side. I just thought I'd get your guys' opinion as well. But if you're tossing up with who you're going to sort of leave out, like if you want to start with a Cleary and a Hines and Grant and the Cheese and then two gun fullbacks, is he one you'd cut before those guys, or do you think you just stick solid with him?
I have a concern with the Cowboys. I just wanted to bring up is that they play a lot of their games at home at the start where it's going to be very hot. Will it be broken down into quarters like they did through the trials? I mean, I've seen
possibly, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean that breaks the whole game down in the dynamic. It can really.
They're having a serious wet season up there this year too.
Yeah.
For the first time in a long time, which
nice
is why I couldn't go near Robson. Not that we're on that topic, but anyone that's looking for Robson, I can't see him playing 80 to start the season. So he's a player to pick up later in there.
Granville's on the bench this week in 14.
Well, it happened last year. It happened last year as well. The Cowboys had all those games in Queensland, and the only game that Robson played 80 in the first 7 games was in Canberra. The rest of them, he had a spell. And then from there, he goes berserk. But I think it's going to be hot and humid.
I'm worried about Cotter for the same reason.
Yeah. I said the same thing last week.
Until I saw that bench that Peyton named this week. I've had no interest in Cotter for the same reason, because I don't think he's going to get the minutes. And then you see that bench. If he goes with that bench in round 1, I think I'm going to have to get Cotter in there.
Yeah. The good draw actually worries me about Cotter, because I think he could do, now that Cotter's clearly an Origin player, he might do what he did with Tamalolo last year. If they're up by 20 or 30 at half time, he might not go on in the second half.
100%.
Like, because he's going to have he wants him when the finals are coming at the business end.
Yeah.
He's not going to run him to ground.
I haven't seen the interest in Cotter because there's just the upside side of things. He's a great player and he's not going to hurt you. He'll score what he's scoring, but there's no upside. But then I look at that bench he's named this week, and it's Jake Granville, Griffin Neame, Jack Gosolinsky, and James Tamo. So
yeah, that's a bit ridiculous.
If he runs, and he's named bugger all, he's named Hampton, Rolly Price, and Brendan Elliott as the only reserves coming on that. But it's pretty much a full strength side that he's named. And if he goes with that with round 1, then surely Cotter's going to see decent minutes, because Robson won't.
Is there any fringe front rowers that you think might jag that spot on the bench normally that weren't named?
No, they're pretty much full strength.
It's a chance though that Granville could play some through the middle.
Where's Mitch Dunn?
He's injured.
Yeah.
Is he for a long period?
Yeah.
He's ACL, didn't he?
He's due back soon, but that's why Cohen Hess has been named on the edge. So
isn't that Lukey as well?
Lukey's back in about round 4 or 5. Mitch Dunn should be back possibly round 1.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So Mitch Dunn could shake things up, because he could play in the middle.
Yeah, and the edge. But it'd just be interesting to keep an eye on that bench, that's for sure. If he goes with that, then someone's going to be taking minutes there, and it won't be Tomalolo early.
No. All righty, guys. I think that wraps everything up. So let's quickly a few announcements before we go. So off the bench crew have created a $10 cash comp, KO comp that we did. We mentioned it last week. Reach out to Brod Thompson on our cash page. This is a KO comp to raise money for one of our colleagues in a Tragics group. His wife tragically passed away recently, so we're just raising some money there. The winner of this KO comp will take home $100, and the rest of it will be donated to the family with his 2-year-old daughter as well. So make sure you reach out to Brod Thompson in the cash comp. Speaking of cash comps, guys, we've still got a few left, but they're running out really quickly. So jump onto our NRL Tragics cash comp page and try to grab our spot as quick as possible. And last but not least, we've got our overall group code. So get your pens ready, guys. It is 223606. Jump into that group code, guys. The winner will receive an NRL SuperCoach Champions ring and entry into cash comp next year. So top 50 overall will get a $200 cash comp entry. If you come first and you get top 100 overall, you get a $100 cash entry. Otherwise, you'll get that ring anyway. So thanks very much, guys, for listening, and we'll catch you all next week. See you guys.
See you guys. Thanks for coming, Costa and Perso. I really appreciate it, guys.
No worries.
No worries.
Cheers,
It
boys.
was fun.
So you want to be a champion? Oh no, now the knee. Well, that was that. Manu, what's he done there? He sold the dummy with a knee injury. It's a fake knee injury. Manu's set up and thrown from Momirovski.
It's the next tackle. He gets an offload. He goes back and gets the football. Probably feels a cramp coming on in the back of his calf. And then just takes off.
Oh, what a beauty. So, you pick which has been the better moment. The bloke kicking the ball back from the traffic at the southern end, or Manu, the cramp, the fibber, and takes off to set up a try.